Hello and welcome back to Universal Information and Entertainment TV. This video is about how to get an operator ID and a flyer ID to fly a drone in the United Kingdom for local people and tourists. And also with the 40 questions with their correct answers given to educate the people who want to pass the flyer test to get a flyer ID for drones and model aircrafts. The reason to make this video to educate people easily because I found many difficulties and misunderstandings to buy or pass these two registrations. To be honest, I bought drone without these legal requirements and was flying in public park without having the operator ID and flyer ID. I found another guy who told me about these requirements. Then I came back home to get these IDs. I spent £9 to get the operator ID and labelled on my drone. The website of CAA was confusing me a little bit, because it was showing that I must pass another test which calls flyer ID, but I could not find the link. The reason I found that I must use a different email address to get second registration which calls flyer ID. So I just have done it. It was simple, but not for me as I am not fully expert with computer and CAA website. Finally, I got to the page where the test starts. Each question comes with 3 or 4 options to choose the right answer. I will take it to questions and their correct answers, but let me give you some more information of CAA rules as showing on screen from their website. These rules are in action from the 1st of January 2021. Please note that the questions and correct answers are given to give an easy educational purpose only, and not for any cheating purposes. I made this video because I was having problems to get these easy registration steps. The operator ID costs in the UK for just £9, which is valid for 1 year, and flyer ID costs nothing. It's free of cost to get flyer ID. You will have to get these both IDs to fly drone in the UK. Except the toy drone, which weighs less than 250 grams and have no camera. But if you have a toy drone, which is less than 250 grams, and have a camera on the drone, then you must have the operator ID, which costs just £9 per year. If you see the market of eBay, Amazon, or any other drone sales platforms who are selling drones for very cheap prices, which actually have camera as well. That means if you have bought a camera drone, which is less than 250 grams, then you must pay for operator ID. But you do not have to get a flyer ID toy drones, which are under 250 grams, to get the operator ID. It's very simple. The link is in the description below to get operator ID and flyer ID. So first of all, please go to Civil Aviation Authority website. The link is below in the description. I am reading this information for you because some people have reading difficulties. On the page you will find the following wordings. Registering to use a drone or model aircraft. Overview. You must register before flying most drones or model aircraft outdoors in the UK. There are 2 requirements and you may need to meet both. If you'll fly, you must pass a theory test to get a flyer ID. If you're responsible for a drone or model aircraft, you must register for an operator ID. You can get both your flyer ID and operator ID at the same time. Warning: it is against the law to fly a drone or model aircraft without having the required IDs. You can also be fined for breaking the law when flying. In the most serious cases, you could be sent to prison. Toys and small drones and model aircraft. You do not need to register if you will only fly or use the following types of drone or model aircraft. Toys below 250G or in C0 class. Those in C0 class with no camera, whether they are a toy or not. Those below 250G with no camera and no class mark, whether they are a toy or not. Take a look at the registration requirements for drones and model aircraft to find out if you need to register. Flyer ID. The flyer is the person who flies the drone or model aircraft. You must pass an online theory test to get a flyer ID. The test is free. You should prepare for the test before you take it. Children under 13. Children under 13 must also pass the test to get a flyer ID. For data protection reasons, they must register with their parent or guardian. There's more information in the Children and Parent Guidance. Operator ID. The operator is the person responsible for managing a drone or model aircraft. This means they are responsible for things like maintaining it and making sure that anyone who flies it has a flyer ID. They are usually the person or organization that owns the drone or model aircraft, but not always. For example, if you're younger than 18 and you own a drone or model aircraft, you must ask your parent or guardian to register for an operator ID. You'll still be able to fly as long as you have a flyer ID. The operator must make sure that only people with a valid flyer ID use their drone or model aircraft. Label their drones and model aircraft with their operator ID. You must be 18 or over to register for an operator ID. You can use the same operator ID for all your drones and model aircraft. If you're responsible for drones or model aircraft, but will not fly them, you can register as an operator only. Prices. Operator and flyer registration costs and validity. Registration, cost and valid for operator ID £9 1 year. Flyer ID £0 5 years. Insurance requirements. Drones and model aircraft below 20 kilograms. If you fly a drone or model aircraft below 20 kilograms for recreation, sport, or as a hobby, you can choose whether or not to have insurance. If you fly it for any other reason, you must have third-party insurance. Drones and model aircraft 20 kilograms and above. If your drone or model aircraft is 20 kilograms or more, you must always have third-party insurance, no matter what you use it for. Prepare for the theory test. Everything you'll need to know to pass the test is in the drone and model aircraft code. It's a good idea to read this to ensure you have the most up-to-date information. About the test. The test is free. 40 multiple-choice questions and a pass mark of 30. You can look at the drone and model aircraft code during the test if you want to. You should allow at least 30 minutes to complete the test. You can take as long as you like, providing you're not inactive for more than 90 minutes. You can take the test as many times as you like. Children under 13. You can still get a flyer ID if you're under 13, but you must ask a parent or guardian to be with you when you register. This is for data protection reasons. There is more information in the Children and Parent Guidance. Register and take the test to fly. Use this service to take the theory test to get a flyer ID. Register for an operator ID if you also own or are responsible for a drone or model aircraft. Age limits. You must be at least 18 years old to get an operator ID. You must be at least 13 years old to get a flyer ID by yourself. If you're younger, please ask your parent or guardian to help you and read the Children and Parent Guidance. If you are an accountable manager for an organization that is responsible for drones or model aircraft, please register as an organization. Before you start, you'll need an email address that you can check when registering, a debit or credit card if you're registering for an operator ID. Details of any insurance required opens in a new tab. It's a good idea to prepare for the theory test. If you already have an operator ID and just need a flyer ID, you'll need to add your flyer ID in the My Registration area. Help with this service. Drone and Model Aircraft Registration Team. drone.registration@caa.co.uk. Telephone 033002299930. Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Children and Parent Guidance. This guidance is designed to help children and their parents or guardians get the IDs they need. It assumes that the drone or model aircraft being used by the child requires a flyer ID and operator ID. If you're not sure, check the registration requirements for drones and model aircraft. If you want to know more about flyer IDs and operator IDs, read the overview. Children under 13. Getting a flyer ID. Children under 13 must have a flyer ID, just like any flyer. For data protection reasons, children under 13 must have their parent or guardian with them when they take the test to get their flyer ID. Operator ID. They cannot register for an operator ID until they are 18. If your child owns a drone or model aircraft that requires an operator ID, this means you must get an operator ID. Step by step. 1. Read the drone and model aircraft code with your child so you both know the rules. 2. Then get a flyer ID for a child under 13. For data protection reasons, you must be with your child when they register and take the test. 3. Once your child has passed the test and got their flyer ID, sign into the My Registration area and get an operator ID for yourself if you need one. Young people aged 13 to 17. Getting a flyer ID. Young people aged 13 to 17 must have a flyer ID. They can take the test and get a flyer ID on their own. Operator ID. They cannot register for an operator ID until they are 18. If your child owns a drone or model aircraft that requires an operator ID, this means you must get an operator ID. Step by step for the young person. 1. Read the drone and model aircraft code so you know the rules. 2. Take the test to get your flyer ID. Step by step for the parent or guardian. 1. Register as an operator for your child's drone or model aircraft. 2. Label the drone or model aircraft with your operator ID. Register a child under 13 as a flyer. Use this service to get a flyer ID for a child under 13. You must be the child's parent or guardian. Your child will need to pass the online theory test when you register them. It's a good idea for your child to prepare for the theory test with you first. It's free to take the test and register. A flyer ID is valid for 5 years. If you're already registered, add your child in the My Registration area. You may need to register too. If your child owns a drone or model aircraft, you may need to register for an operator ID. You can find out more in the Children and Parent Guidance. Registering more children. Every child that needs a flyer ID will need to take the test separately. If you're already registered, add your children in the My Registration area. Register as an operator. Use this service when you want to register for an operator ID because you own or are responsible for a drone or model aircraft. You do not want to get a flyer ID at the same time. You must be at least 18 years old to get an operator ID. You can use the same operator ID for all your drones and model aircraft. Warning: an operator ID does not give you authorization to fly. If you want to fly, you must also have a flyer ID in most cases. You can check what you need in the registration requirements. If you are an accountable manager for an organization that is responsible for drones or model aircraft, please register as an organization. Price. Registration for an operator ID costs £9 and is valid for 1 year. Before you start, you'll need an email address that you'll be able to check during your application, a debit or credit card, details of any insurance required. If you already have a flyer ID, you'll need to get your operator ID in the My Registration area. Register an organization to use drones or model aircraft. Use this service to register your organization for an operator ID if it's responsible for drones or model aircraft. Examples of organizations that may need to register include businesses, schools, colleges, universities, voluntary organizations, clubs and charities. Warning: it is against the law to use drones and model aircraft without the right registration. You can use the same operator ID to label all your drones and model aircraft. Price: registration for an operator ID costs £9 and is valid for 1 year. Who can register your organization? The person who completes the registration must be authorized to be the accountable manager for drones and model aircraft in the organization. The accountable manager will be responsible for making sure that the organization flies and uses drones and model aircraft safely and legally. You can change the accountable manager at any time. Before you start, you'll need the accountable manager's home address and contact details, the organization's registered number, for example its registered company number or charity number, details of any insurance that is legally required, a debit or credit card, holders of other authorizations, permissions or exemptions. You still need an operator ID even if you already have an existing authorization, permission or exemption from the Civil Aviation Authority. The permission that allows commercial operations is sometimes referred to as a PFCO. A flight permission from any other organization, such as an airport. Now let me take you to the screen where the questions and answers come. Please note that I forgot to record from start of test and missed first 2 questions, but fully recorded from third question. I recorded my screen to know which my answers are wrong when I started my test. Luckily I passed this test in my first attempt by using common sense. I have only 3 answers wrong and passed my test with 37 correct answers out of 40. The result will be shown at the end, but let me show you the questions on screen. Please remember that these are 40 questions to be answered at 30 to pass this test to have the flyer ID from CAA. As I has said before, this is for educational purpose only. The question sequence will be different than which I am showing now on screen. Please continue watching the test and its results. It will be helpful to people who does not have knowledge or approach to know what could be right answer and why. It's actually based on safety and common sense. Please watch carefully and remember these questions and answers and test result. The continue watching the screen ANS, I just added a stopwatch on the corner of this screen to know the completion time of these 40 questions. Question 3 of 40. Andrea realizes she's accidentally recorded some video through a neighbor's window when filming with her drone. What is Andrea allowed to do with the video? Select one from options below. Share the video with friends and family. Share the video online without editing it. Share the video online after deleting the part with her neighbor in it. The correct answer is, share the video online after deleting the part with her neighbor in it. Question 4 of 40. Which of the following must you check so that you can fly safely? Select 1. That your drone camera is working. That there are plenty of people around. That your drone has enough fuel or battery power to last through your planned flight. The correct answer is, that your drone has enough fuel or battery power to last through your planned flight. Please continue watching this video with end results. Please note the 3 wrong answers will be displayed at the end of this test with their correct answers.
Thanks for watching Universal Information and Entertainment TV. Please like and subscribe our channel for more updated videos, news, information and entertainment. See you in next video. Stay tuned.